I watched Caroline Leavitt's press conference today, so you don't have to, and here's my overview. We'll just start off with the fact that she spoke for only 33 minutes and somehow mentioned Biden 7 times and called it a Democratic shutdown at least 13 times. In fact, she starts off the whole thing by saying it's a Democratic-led shutdown and that the Democrats are holding the Americans hostage. She will later say that it's intentional sabotage of the people by Democrats and that this madness just must end. Quite hilariously, she keeps talking about groups that are going to be affected by this Democratic-led government shutdown, and she's talking about like single mothers and children, while they're quite hilariously trying to cut funding to Medicaid and SNAP and WIC. So, I really don't know why she pretends that they care about them now. She says the FAA is working for free and there's no money going into FEMA, but she refuses to acknowledge the fact that in North Carolina, they're still suffering as a result of Hurricane Helene from last year and as a result of Donald Trump not giving additional money to help the relief of those in Asheville and surrounding areas in North Carolina. She gives a statistic without a source. She says that each week the government shutdown goes on, there's going to be a $15 billion loss in GDP. To me, honestly, this just sounds like another thing that they're trying to preemptively set up to blame Democrats for why the economy is not thriving under terrible economic policy like tariffs, which are just a tax on American people. Regarding Portland, she says that Trump is going to end the reign of radical left terrorism in Portland. She also says that it's war ravaged and that Portland is ravaged with left-wing anarchy. Still regarding Portland, she says that Antifa terrorists have laid siege to an ICE facility and then calls them radical left-wing lunatics. She also says, and I hope this one is true, that the protesters put a guillotine in front of an ICE facility. I really do hope that's true. She claims that some right-wing reporter was arrested by Portland police. I'm sure he did. Absolutely. I'm sure he was just sitting on the sidelines peacefully recording the events. I'm sure there was nothing nefarious he was doing at all. Again, just to recap some of the terms that she's used: left-wing mobs, radical left lunatics, left-wing anarchists, just casually throwing those around without understanding the definition of any of the things that she's saying. Here's a direct quote: "We will not fund states that allow anarchy," showing again that she does not know the definition of anarchy. She gets asked a question about what is a Democrat agency, which is something that I have brought up myself. What, in fact, is a Democrat agency? She says that it's anyone that does not align with the administration. So just anyone who's trying to do good in the world, basically. Because he said yesterday, Russell Vogt of Project 2025 fame is going to come in and make all these cuts. Someone asks, is Project 2025 the blueprint for this? And she goes, I can't answer that. So yes, the answer is yes when you say that. She won't answer specifically what's going to be stopped as a result of the shutdown, but she says that they're going to stop Biden's DEI construction projects. She gets asked about Trump's feelings on Bad Bunny performing at the halftime show next year, and she says she doesn't want to talk about his feelings, but they're free to ask him that the next time they talk to him. And then she goes on to say she has her own feelings, but that's not very important right now. She's a bigot. We know she has her own feelings. Regarding Israel and Palestine, she says Hamas must accept the agreement by Sunday or face, quote, tragic consequences, which Trump has said they're just going to level the entire place. He, in fact, put out a Truth Social this morning that said very clearly that they are waiting to just go ahead and bomb everything if Hamas doesn't accept. I won't go into the details of exactly what he wrote out, but you're more than welcome to look at it yourself. She claims again that the boats that they're just blowing up without any judicial hearings at all, which is a extrajudicial killing, it is a war crime, is totally justified because they're terrorists smuggling drugs. This one is hilarious. She says, quote, the president literally works 24/7. I have a social media feed that shows that he is definitely not working 24/7. A social media feed filled with hate and contradictions and just blatant lies. It's hilarious that she would claim that. And also, he doesn't sleep, I guess. Also hilarious because she's really good at not answering questions, but really bad at avoiding contradictions because all that she does is lie. She says that Hakeem Jeffries should work on opening the government back up. I will remind you, it's currently sitting with the Senate to do that, and he is the minority leader in the House of Representatives, so not on him at all. Again, just with the contradiction, she keeps getting asked questions about, are there going to be layoffs as a result of this? And she keeps saying that the president and Russell Vogt are working with the different agencies to see whether or not there's going to be layoffs. And then she says that it's an unenviable task if you have to do layoffs. And then she gets asked a question about, well, Trump says that this is a unprecedented opportunity for them to just shut stuff down. And she keeps going, well, obviously you don't want to fire people, but we have to make cuts if cuts have to be made. And then someone else brings up, hey, you didn't have to make any cuts when the government shut down for 35 days during your first term, so why does it need to be done now? And she keeps saying, well, it just is, and just accept my answer of it just is. She gets asked a question about Trump putting out a post likening Russell vote to the Grim Reaper, and she says, the president likes to have some fun every once in a while. She says in the continuing resolution that they passed just a few months ago that there are no partisan Republican politics in the whole thing. None. I guess they just didn't get anything they wanted. It's totally a total bipartisan bill. She says that $9.1 billion has been incurred in emergency services for treating illegal immigrants, which I'll remind you is just $27 per person per year. And I'm more than willing to pay for a few people if they just can't afford that $27 a year. She also says that the Biden admin encouraged an invasion of this country and that tens of millions of people have came in, which again is a very disputed number, and only her and Trump and people in his cabinet say that. But the rest of their government, including like ICE and border enforcement, do not say those numbers. But she says that grandmas and grandpas are waiting because illegal immigrants are taking over emergency services. She literally does not know how the emergency services in this country work. You are treated by priority, not by when you showed up, not by any of that, by priority. So gunshot wounds get priority over my ankle hurts, for example. Apparently, according to her, Trump is still planning to make IVF free. Now, if you've watched me in my lives at all, or sometimes I've mentioned on here, my wife and I are struggling with infertility. I would really like you know what? I would praise his graces if he made IVF free, at least for that issue. But he's not going to, because it was never a priority. It was just a lie he said on the campaign trail to just get a few more votes. Every lie is just to get a few more votes, and he's happy to say all of the lies as many times as he wants because he knows as much as he gets fact-checked, there are people who are just going to believe him. Again, if he makes IVF free, I will praise him for that, but he will never do that. And finally, she says there are brave reporters who have gone undercover into Antifa terrorist cells, and she says she just met with one of them and they revealed a whole bunch of information. I'm just going to remind you one more time, Antifa in this country is an idea, anti-fascist or anti-fascism, and they have called that a terrorist organization on many, many, many occasions. If you are calling the idea of anti-fascism terroristic, you are calling yourself a fascist. So very clearly for those in the front, Donald Trump, KKKaroline, your entire administration is a bunch of fascists, a bunch of self-proclaimed fascists. And I hope that you will never be forgotten in history for being the horrible, horrible fascists that you are. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. Love you guys. Just kidding, not done here. I have some people to thank. This person says, enjoy your gift from Jody B. They sent these really cool skull and raven bookends. I'm pretty stoked on them. We need to do some more organizing of the bookshelf because you guys have been extremely generous with the gifts, and I do appreciate that. This person says, thank you, you've been a godsend. I don't know how you do it. From Zayra, Z-A-Y-R-A, I hope I said that right. They sent 2 books, Evicted and Automating Humanity, which were both recommended by people on TikTok in my comment section. Thank you so much for that. And then this person says, my dad used to work for NASA, JPL specifically, so I buy this in his honor. Well, I think he would have been a Republican if he were still alive. He would have hated what happened to NASA. Thank you for all you do, from Tanya F. They sent me a spotting scope. Thank you, Tanya F. Thank you, everyone who sticks around and listens to this. Thank you 10%ers who have made it this far, because it's usually less than that actually now, if I'm being honest with you, maybe 6%, but sometimes it's like 15. So like really when we average it all out, we're just going to stick with 10%. And I love you 10%ers. I really do.